Hey guys, it's Casey, and today I just wanted to talk about essay writing since it is almost reading week for those of us in university and almost March break for those of us still in high school. It's kind of essay writing season. Near the end of the year, all the teachers get together and decide they want to pile all the essays on us all at once, as if we don't have enough to do over reading week. So yeah, I just thought today would be a good time to make this video for those of you who are wondering, where do I start? How do I write an essay? Especially for those of us just starting out in university, it can seem really overwhelming sometimes. Just getting into it, getting started, figuring out what they want from us. And a lot of the time, the best thing to do is just read the instructions. Almost all profs will provide you with a syllabus that has all the specifications for exactly what they want in the essay. So if they want it to be typed double-spaced, Times New Roman, 12-point font, you do that. And a lot of the time, they'll give you hints and tips and tricks. So look into that and actually read the instructions. Don't just wing it, because a lot of the time that can help you. Okay, so the most important thing to start doing when you write an essay is to develop a thesis. Now, a lot of people don't know what a thesis is because they're not necessarily taught that in high school. It's just something you're supposed to know how to do, but not everybody does. The best way I can think to explain a thesis is not that it's a question, which is how it tends to be explained in high school, but rather that it's the answer to a question. So if you're writing about, let's just say Frankenstein, because I just did an essay on Frankenstein, and your topic is to talk about how women are represented in Frankenstein. Think about some questions that arise from your topic and then start writing down your answers to them. So why are women important in Frankenstein? What is the point of safety in Frankenstein? What is the point of Frankenstein's mother dying? That sort of thing. And then answer it. Safety is important because she is a female role model to the monster, and she displays the kind of inequality that women face in Mary Shelley's time. That's a thesis. A thesis is not a question you're answering. A thesis is not a statement of fact. So there are female characters in Frankenstein is not a thesis. A thesis is the answer to a question you can ask about the work, and then prove your answer. So basically you answer the question and then you back it up with points. When you're writing the outline for your essay, first pick out some questions, then answer them. Then think about how you would explain your answer to someone else. What would you use to point out what you want to say? What points would you use to explain your reasoning for choosing that answer? Where did you get that answer from? Those are going to be your body points. So once you have a thesis, safety is important because she's a female role model, blah, blah, blah. Why is she a female role model? Where is it shown that she's a female role model? So you pick out your points, and each point becomes a body paragraph. Most essays in high school do the 5-paragraph format, which is introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. You don't have to do it like that in university, but sometimes it helps to start doing it that way, and then if you need to break up your body paragraphs into smaller paragraphs, because one point ends up being too long and you realize it can actually be 2 separate points, then break it up. But going with the standard format can help you get something to paper so that you know what direction you're taking. Once you finish brainstorming your points, it's time to get writing. What you should do first is write an outline. So write out your thesis, what your points are, and then in point form write out the proofs that you're going to use to explain each point. Some people use the point proof comment method, in which case they start with a point under their main point. Proof is usually a quote or an example from the text, and comment is you using that example to prove that point. Now that's a very mechanical way of doing it, but if you're writing a rough draft and you're one of those people who rewrites things, it can't hurt to lay it out that way at first, especially if you're going to rewrite it. A lot of people have trouble with introductions because they don't know exactly what the point of an introduction is. You're not proving anything in your introduction. You can really introduce your topic in just a sentence or two, so why should you have to go through all this pomp and circumstance about introducing your thesis in flowery language that really doesn't have anything to do with what your point is? The best way I can suggest writing an introduction is to think about it as introducing someone who has no idea what your topic is into the topic. So I do it like a triangle. with the hypotenuse at the top and then the focus narrowing in. So at the start of the paragraph, start with a broad topic. A statement that could apply to your text or maybe even outside of your text. Then you introduce the text. You talk about the author. You introduce the name of the work. So in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, there is a character named Safie who blah, 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 blah. You might need to summarize some of the plot in the introduction, but try not to do that too much because too much summary doesn't help you prove your point. A lot of the time it just detracts from the overall message of your essay. As you're narrowing into your focus, you start first with that broad sentence, then with the introduction of your topic, then with the introduction of your thesis, and then finally list your points. A lot of people forget that you need to introduce all the things you're going to argue in your essay in your introduction. You can't just start throwing arguments out there that you haven't introduced because that'll lose you marks, especially in university essays. So literally list your method points. Safie is an important female role model in Frankenstein because she influences the creature's education, acts as his primary socialization, introduces him to the patriarchal society she lives in, and gives him hope that he can find love. Those are my method points. Those are the things that I'm going to be arguing in this essay. So now they've just been laid out for you. Now each paragraph is going to be about one of those points. And then the conclusion, you do the opposite. You start by listing your points again. Then you write your thesis again. Then you introduce your topic again. Then you end with a broad statement. So it's the opposite triangle. It's this way. It's from narrow to broad. If you follow this rubric, you're not going to have any trouble laying out your essay, especially if you plan it out first on line paper. If you have to draw the triangles and write in your points that way, do it. If you have to use the hamburger message, the bun, the lettuce, the meat, the cheese, whatever your high school teacher taught you about essays, go ahead and do it. If that's your method. But the important thing is to lay out your arguments logically. A lot of professors will tell you to do your weakest arguments first and then end with your strongest argument, but that doesn't work for all essays. Sometimes you have to do it chronologically, and sometimes you have to do it from strongest to weakest. It all depends on the way that your argument functions and the way that you're going to argue it. Remember that every writing style is different and that your essay is not going to look exactly like your neighbor's essay, and that's okay. Writing essays is hard and it's tiring and it sucks. The only other advice I can leave you with is to get someone to proofread your essay before you hand it in. Get someone to read it over, not only for grammatical and spelling mistakes, but also for content. Make sure that it's laid out logically, that your argument flows from one step into the next step into the next step. When you're going from paragraph to paragraph, in the last sentence of each of your body paragraphs, introduce the next paragraph by saying what you're going to talk about in the next one. So introduce the next topic in the concluding sentence of your paragraph. Now that might seem a little redundant because then you just have to restate the same thing in the opening sentence of the next paragraph, but that's what they're looking for. They're looking for this repetition to show you actually know what you're talking about, which might seem silly because if I say it once, why do I have to say it 4 different times in 4 different ways? But you have to. You have to restate things, and you have to summarize, and you have to be able to say it multiple ways so that your professors know you're not just parroting something you heard in class. If you actually understand your topic, writing an essay isn't actually that hard. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of dedication. Don't stress out. Casey out.